Now, in order to get the right amount of outfits, Roger, I suggest that we work mainly from service uniforms. Now, I can do double-breasteds, single-breasteds, and rather nice lounge suits.
In preparation for their flight to freedom, the prisoners of war in Stalag Luft 3 had to replace their officers' uniforms with clothes that would not reveal their true identity. As the film showed, the men were resourceful in using what few materials they had to create many different costumes.
Now, I've started working on the other materials. This blanket, particularly the striped, marvelous. Coats.
Yes?
I've got the chaps working on these all over the compound. Oh, those battle dresses, I'm afraid they're a bit too short. I'll have to get the chaps to make those into some sort of working man's outfits.
Mm-hmm. We had guys who were tailors in the camp, and they were very good at it. For instance, some of the guys came in uniform, but the uniform they came in with, if you took a razor blade and sheared it very carefully, it would be the same color as a German uniform. And also, they paraded themselves in uniform so we could copy them. So that was how we did it. And they were pretty good looking, too.
The escapees would also need official documents and travel passes to allow them to pass through Germany to a neutral country such as Sweden or Switzerland. The prisoners' ingenuity in obtaining original papers to copy was also well documented in the film.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like one?
I'll smoke it later when I'm off duty, thank you.
Yeah, you probably have a couple of roommates, huh?
The method of bribery that was portrayed in the movie was absolutely right on the mark. The whole point was that the Americans had the benefit of Red Cross parcels and parcels from home that contained goods that the Germans didn't have access to, especially things like cigarettes and chocolate and coffee.
Why don't we go into my room where we can talk more comfortably, huh?
I'd better not. If Strachwitz should see me...
I was just going to make some coffee.
They'd say, well, come and have a cup of coffee. Well, the Germans loved having real coffee, or a cigarette, or a piece of chocolate, or a bar of soap, you know. And then the demand, eventually a request would come, I wonder if you could bring us a copy of an Urlaubschein, the leave ticket that the Germans had to have if they went anywhere.
I must go.
Oh, here, it's okay. Look, keep it. I'll never be able to eat it all. I've got all I could eat.
Ich muss jetzt hier raus.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, forget it, forget it.
The escape organization included a team of men who meticulously crafted fake documents by hand.
Each of us had our specialities. My specialty was German script, the Gothic script, which sounds frightfully difficult, but in fact is awfully easy to forge. They could copy any piece of paper you ever wanted to show them, and they were wonderful. We had Ausweises that were better than the Germans. I mean, it was terrific, and signed by Hitler and signed by whoever.
But many of the materials that were needed to manufacture documents, compasses, maps, and money were not available in the prison camp. The filmmakers made these resources seem easy to obtain and chose not to explain just how they were supplied. In fact, many items found their way into Stalag Luft 3, hidden inside parcels that were sent to the prisoners.
We had parcels from home. They called them personal parcels. But in there, sometimes you would find materials that were useful for escape.
Packages containing secret escape material were sent separately from the Red Cross and YMCA supplies in order not to compromise the work of the official organizations.
The role of the Red Cross and the YMCA was sacrosanct, and this should not be confused with the activities of both Washington and London to create many avenues for sending this material into the POWs, both through the families and through agencies.
The agencies responsible for these covert operations were MI9 in Britain and Ms. X in the United States. Military intelligence ran these undercover groups to assist the prisoners of war in their efforts to escape. But the systems used to aid the escapees were timeless. And even after the war, those involved felt that the information should remain classified.
When I did my original research, the prisoners pleaded with me not to reveal some of those techniques because they felt they were clever, but they were also basic and could be used in future wars. And so we honored that at that time.
By avoiding any mention of this confidential information, the plea for discretion on the part of the survivors was also respected by the filmmakers.
They were very sensitive to what was going on in Vietnam and elsewhere in the world and the plight of POWs, and I think there was just a general appreciation.
While support activities continued in the entire camp, the diggers kept working underground. On screen, the discovery of the tunnel called Tom led the team to concentrate on one of the remaining two in an effort to break out as soon as possible.
Ich hab's doch geahnt. Oh my God, they found Tom. Open up, Harry. We dig. Around the clock.
But in real life, it was news that the Germans planned to separate the American airmen from the British and Canadians that prompted the tunnelers to focus their efforts on just one tunnel.
They knew that the American prisoners were scheduled to leave the camp sometime in the fall of 1943, and they were very keen to break the tunnel before the Americans left so that they could have a chance to escape as well.
Unfortunately, the American officers were transferred to a new compound before the tunnel was completed. But the film's producers wanted to appeal to the widest audience possible. They also needed to showcase their cast of mostly American stars.
We felt at the time, United Artists felt, and so did the Mirishes, and John agreed, that to go very accurate and have it all British, Australian, or Commonwealth people, that you would lose the potential market as compared to what you would have of making it an American or international, if you will, by throwing in a Steve McQueen, a Jim Garner.
Now, peace. Forward, hard.
When the actual breakout took place in March 1944, no Americans escaped from the underground passage, although the film showed them playing a major role in the flight to freedom. The real prisoners understood the producer's decision and acknowledged the American airmen's enormous contribution to the overall escape effort.
After all, it was a movie, and the Americans did help a great deal.
Despite its overall attention to accuracy, The Great Escape had made compromises in both plot and characterization. But it was in the scenes which showed the escaped prisoners making their way to freedom that the producers faced their greatest challenge and their harshest criticism. The Great Escape burst onto movie screens in June 1963. Premiering in London, the filmmakers even arranged special screenings for the many ex-prisoners of war.
It probably was a better test for us than taking it to a public screening and doing our research screenings, because they all not only liked the picture, but said, no, that's it. You've accomplished it. If it had not sold any tickets, which there's always a chance of, that would have made it worth a while anyway.
I can tell you overall the prisoners were delighted. They felt it captured the essence of what went on.
Wally thought it was great. How could he not? It's a magnificent film. There's no question about that.
John Sturges felt very strongly that he had accomplished the nobility and the honor of it.
In July of that same year, premieres were held in New York and Los Angeles. The immediate critical and box office success of the film sealed Steve McQueen's fate as a major movie star. The composite characters that John Sturges had created were completely convincing even to the people they were based on.
People who were in the camp have started to assimilate details of the movie into their own lives. And so you see people claiming, well, I was the inspiration for the James Garner character, or I was Steve McQueen, or I was James Coburn, or whatever. But it gives you a sense of how important the film has been in creating our perceptions of this event.
But even before the film made the story famous around the world, investigators in Europe tried to track down the murderers of the 50 slain airmen.